So the Supreme Court issued a 5-4 order, which completely shook up our country and created a significant battle between Texas and the Biden administration over the border. And now new precedent from an unlikely source has been submitted to the court in support of the state of Texas. So let's talk about what is now happening. Now, really quick before you jump into this video, if you like this video and you want to support the channel, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. About 60% of all my viewers are not actually subscribed to the channel. That really does help the channel to grow. And also, I want to thank one of the main supporters of this channel, which is First Form. I actually had the opportunity to go out to their headquarters this last weekend, went to Summer Smash 2024, and it was an amazing time. And what I can tell you guys about all the executives, all the employees, all the staff there is that they are freedom lovers. They support the Second Amendment, and they're willing to support a channel like this when other, industries and companies, actual gun companies, are not willing to support two-way content. So again, if you want amazing supplements and you want to support a company that believes in freedom, please check out First Form, and I will leave a link to them down below in the detail section and in the pinned comment. As I mentioned in the intro, we need to talk about a 5-4 order recently issued by the Supreme Court involving the Texas border dispute and the state of Texas' right to self-defense. Now the Biden administration is trying to take the opportunity opened up after that Supreme Court order and essentially have this entire case thrown out. However, the state of Texas is fighting back against that attempt, and a new decision issued in a case dealing with the Daily Wire is actually being used in this lawsuit to defend the state of Texas and their issue over the border. The case we're going to be talking about in this video is the state of Texas versus the Department of Homeland Security. Recently, Governor Greg Abbott reacted to the Supreme Court's order and issued a letter to the Biden administration, essentially outlining that the state of Texas has a right to self-defense under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the Constitution. The governor makes a claim that despite what the Supreme Court said in their order, the Biden administration has failed to essentially fulfill their duties to protect the state of Texas against an invasion. This has set up a critical clash between the state and the federal government, and then also it's set up an important legal battle. But now the Biden administration is taking this opportunity after that Supreme Court 5-4 order to try to have the case thrown out. But a decision issued in the Daily Wire lawsuit last month is being used to strike down those attempts. Now we need to do some background on these cases so you understand what the Supreme Court's order was and what is now developing and what is happening now with this new lawsuit being presented as support for why this case should not be dismissed. The recent Supreme Court order involves overruling a preliminary injunction, an administrative injunction that was granted by the Fifth Circuit. The Fifth Circuit three-judge panel's decision prevented the United States Border Patrol from cutting, destroying, or otherwise interfering with concertina wire or C-wire that the state of Texas put up along 29 miles of municipal and private land in the Eagle Pass area. In this case, Texas originally sued the federal government in a Texas federal district court, alleging trespass along with other violations like violations of the Administrative Procedures Act or the APA. In this case, the lower court originally granted a TRO, but then later on review denied a request for a preliminary injunction. What was interesting about that decision was the fact that the court did not agree that cutting the wire for one medical emergency then justified leaving it open for thousands of other people to go through. But despite that, the judge still denied Texas' request for the preliminary injunction, even though they agreed with the state of Texas that cutting the wire was not necessary for medical emergencies. Texas then quickly appealed up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and then along with that appeal request, Texas sought an emergency injunction request, essentially for an administrative injunction to be in place until the actual appeal was reviewed by the Fifth Circuit. Essentially, Texas appealed the injunction denial to the Fifth Circuit, and then at the same time asked for the Fifth Circuit to grant an administrative injunction while the larger appeal is happening. The Fifth Circuit ultimately granted the administrative injunction while the review of the larger appeal was taking place. Of course, the Biden administration did not like that the smaller injunction was granted in favor of the state of Texas, so they filed an emergency application to the United States Supreme Court. They asked for the Supreme Court to step in early and vacate the Fifth Circuit's administrative injunction. And on review, the Supreme Court issued a 5-4 order which granted the federal government's request to vacate that administrative stay. Justice Thomas Alito Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh would have denied the application to vacate, but Justice Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett joined the liberals in siding with the Biden administration. After the Supreme Court's 5-4 order, the Fifth Circuit then decided to put the case on hold. They were set to review this case, but they decided they weren't going to review it at that time. Instead, what they decided to do was hold it in abeyance, and then they sent it back down to the lower court for a limited review for only 60 days for further development of the record and the required evidence that they needed to review this case. But now what has happened, which is a little bit more concerning, is the fact that the Biden administration is now taking this limited remand, the 60-day opportunity, that was developing in this case. They took this opportunity to file a motion to dismiss the entire case. In their motion, the Biden administration argues that there is a lack of subject matter jurisdiction and that Texas lacks standing to bring this lawsuit. But in response, Texas is now using a new decision that was issued and comes essentially from a surprising source, and that is a Daily Wire lawsuit. Texas submitted a notice of an opinion that took place in a Daily Wire versus Department of State lawsuit. They state in this letter that in that case, the state of Texas, along with the Daily Wire, sued the State Department and various officials for censoring the speech of American media companies. Although defendants advanced a factual attack on jurisdiction, the Daily Wire decision refused to dismiss the case because plaintiffs had alleged facts sufficient to establish standing. In the Daily Wire opinion, the court found that if, however, the defendant's jurisdictional attack is intertwined with the merits of a claim, then the court should defer ruling on the motion until summary judgment or trial. Similar to Texas' argument in the current case, the Daily Wire court observed the importance of evaluating whether the purported factual attack is, in actuality, a merits attack whose adjudication should be deferred until summary judgment or trial. In Daily Wire, the court found that the dispute at issue is the merits question. In that instance, the court thus determines at the stage only whether plaintiffs stated a claim by accepting their well-pleaded allegations as true and considering them in the light most favorable to the plaintiffs. Indeed, where the facts disputed by defendants in their motion are the very facts underlying the plaintiff's merits claims, the court cannot resolve those disputed facts on a Rule 12b1 motion. Because defendants' factual attacks on standing here in this case are similarly intertwined with the merits, the court should likewise deny the factual attack on jurisdiction and take Texas' allegations as true in resolving the motion to dismiss. Now, what is happening here and why the Daily Wire lawsuit is being presented is the fact that the Daily Wire lawsuit dealt with a similar issue where the Department of State was trying to dismiss this case for a lack of jurisdiction. In the Daily Wire case, the court rejected an attempt to prematurely dismiss a case through a motion to dismiss where the facts that were being disputed were facts that actually made up the actual merits challenge, and that's kind of the whole issue that is being brought in the lawsuit. The underlying facts disputed in this case here was the cutting the wire and the actions of the state of Texas. And because some of those factual issues and some of the evidence and some of the claims, being intertwined with an actual merits decision, the fact that the court is trying to dismiss it here at this stage, or at least the Biden administration is wanting the court to dismiss it here at this stage, would be too premature. And instead, this case needs to proceed forward, at least towards a summary judgment motion where, some of those factual, information, some of the arguments there can be developed more through discovery or an actual trial in a hearing on the merits. Because again, a lot of these, factual allegations are intertwined with the actual merits argument. So dismissing it here before that's fully developed would be too premature. So this is something that we're going to be wanting to watch very closely going forward. Right now, the limited remand time in that whole time frame is going to end soon. But the Biden administration wants this entire case thrown out before that time frame ends. Now, keep in mind, there's another Texas border dispute lawsuit that's going on. That's SB4. I have some other videos breaking down that specific statute that was passed in Texas and some of the legal battles that are going on after that. But regardless of what happens, despite what happens here in this limited remand, I think this case here dealing with the Eagle Pass area and then also SB4, I think regardless, these are kind of bound to once again make their way to the Supreme Court. This is a highly contested issue. This is something highly debated. So that is where the Texas border lawsuit currently stands after the Supreme Court issued that 5-4 order and the recent precedent that is being used as a result of that Daily Wire lawsuit. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. And if anything else changes, if anything else develops, I will let you guys know. Also, if you like this video and you would like to support this channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of two-way news. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.